Mary, without Mary, man, let me know.
Well,
The police?
police, that's generality.
Live by the sword, die by the sword. Has became a common expression, adapted from Jesus. Words to Peter, the proverb meaning is still basically the same. A person who lives violently will probably at some point be killed. In a violent manner, violence begets violence. Those who practice violence will come to a violent end. I say it again. Those who practice violence will come to a violent end.
Welcome to Sweet Fingers, where the flavors of Jamaica come alive. Our talented chefs blend authentic Jamaican ingredients with a touch of love and passion. From tender oxtail stew to flavorful coconut shrimp to our snapper fish, we serve up the best of Jamaican cuisine. Whether you're looking for a taste of Jamaica or an unforgettable dining experience, Sweet Fingers is the place to be. Feel the rhythm, taste the spice, and immerse yourself in the vibrant Jamaican nightlife at our restaurant, where every night becomes a celebration of island flavors and unforgettable experiences. Come and experience the soulful flavors of Jamaica today. Nobody does it like Sweet Fingers, baby.
Bang live! Bang live! Bang live! Bang live! Bang live!
Hip-hop or R&B, reggaeton dance music, till the lights is on, till the lights is on, till the lights is on. Radio, that Baylife radio, Baylife radio. We play you, send your music. We play you, send it in. We play you, send your music. We play you, send it in. Send it in. We play you, send your music. We play you, send it
in. Are you ready to honor the legacy of my brother and hip-hop legend Shock G and make a difference in the community? Show your support for the East Oakland Collective, EOC, by purchasing the new Shock G Humpty t-shirt designed by Shamari Smith. It's available at beatsforhope.com. My brother Shock G was a multi-platinum hip-hop pioneer and producer who was deeply committed to helping the community, culture, and music of his time. His vision for helping humanity was honorable and has inspired people to come together and see to those that need important attention and love. By purchasing the new Shock G Humpty t-shirt, you are supporting the EOC, which helps provide essential services in East Oakland. Together, we can make a difference as we honor Shock G's legacy and support our friends at the EOC. Get your Shock G Humpty t-shirt today.
I'm waking up in the hospital now, and I can make a whole lot of shit crumble, bro.
Skip that nigga over the bitch.
Word on the street is this nigga PJ riding around telling motherfuckers I done killed Courtney. My nigga. You feel what I'm saying? Okay. I need you to take care of PJ.
I don't know, be playing, man. Tell him, we trying to make something happen though, so nigga ain't got too much time to be waiting on it.
I'm gonna get the white bitch on it.
What like this?
White bitch I took from Joe.
See, that's the shit I be talking about, man. It's always something bigger with your plan.
But the bitch don't know me. Really have to tell you though, right? That nigga PJ ain't cool, bro.
What he done?
That nigga out here selling that fake shit, that stepped on shit, and he saying he getting it from us. Lights out. Paying the fucking price, bitch.
Bang live! Bang live! Bang live! Bang live! Bang live!
Are we on the air?
Yes, you are.
You're live in the mix with the one and only DJ Igor Beats.
Vocabulary gravy, hustle so strong, lead a whole block hazy. Curbside chatter, deals under street lights. Hustle on the corner like a fiend chasing green stripes. Knock steady, hitting speakers bark like a pit. Street level impact, the ground might split. Street level impact, with a baseline crack from the trunk to the block. No way to turn back, hands in the air, we gon' make this clap. Street level impact, yeah we built for that. Street level impact, with a baseline crack from the trunk to the block. No way to turn back, hands in the air, we gon' make this clap. Street level impact, yeah we built for that.
What it do, what it do? My bad, it just slipped my mind. I was trying to remember what episode this is. But episode 7, we're here to bring you Street Level Impact, one of the hottest up-and-coming podcasts here in the Bay Area. Y'all know who I be, the Tycoon, Mr. Outside. We got Igor Beats on the 1s and 2s. And this is what we do every Thursday. We just here basically, to chop it up, to keep y'all informed on what's going on out here in our community, as well as give our thoughts and opinions on some of what's going on. I want to start off by saying shout out to all our listeners and everybody all our viewers that's checking us out, whether it's on Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, any of those outlets, you know what I mean? I just want to give a shout out to y'all, because without y'all, this wouldn't be possible, and we do it for y'all, you know what I mean? So, I guess we can jump right into it. It's always something going on out here. it's a bunch of different topics. A lot of stuff's been coming up in the past week on all levels, on a local level, on a global level, and I just, it's one of those days where it kind of got me. I'm conflicted on which way I want to start. You know what I mean? But I guess I'm gonna just we gotta keep it local though. So we're gonna kick that off and then see what happens next. But this is the last week of February. This is coming up on the end of Black History Month. It was an interesting month. I say that to say the least. It was real active out here in the Bay Area, with all the different events and different festivals and all that stuff going on. Also, with it being Black History Month, just over the weekend, we did it was the Black Joy Parade. I was trying to remember which one it was because they've been doing Black Joy Parade for a while now, huh, Igor? Yeah. I'm trying to remember what. I don't know if you happen to know what number it is.
I think it's been about 8 years now.
Okay, so that's, for those that are familiar or that might not be familiar, Black Joy Parade is a festival and a parade that they do in Oakland. Once a year, downtown Oakland. This year it was pretty dope. I seen thousands of people. I'll be honest with you, I can't give you a real estimate on how many people were there, but it was thousands of black people in the street. Everybody was having a good time, enjoying themselves. I seen it was a lot of different different vendors, and business owners, so that was good to see as well. Oh, more than 100,000 people? That's crazy. I believe it though, because it was all day. I was out there all day. I originally had got there like 10 in the morning, and didn't leave till the end of it, till probably almost at 7 o'clock, because everybody was waiting to see Maya. Maya was the headliner for one of the stages. Me personally, I'm keeping 100. I wasn't necessarily there to see her. I was, there to see some of the other artists. Shout out to Rex Life Raj from Berkeley. He rocked it. He also performed on the main stage. There's another artist that I didn't get a chance to see, but that who is another artist that I was there to see as well, Nesta. And he's a dope artist too. You know what I'm saying? If y'all get a chance, y'all look him up. But from what I saw, like you said, it was packed. Everybody was having fun. I went to, they had like a sports zone section too and different stuff. I seen they had, the sections for the kids and everything. And everywhere you went, it was packed. It was packed. It was like even just maneuvering through the streets, trying to go from one place to another, it was literally shoulder to shoulder and no problems. So I think that that's something that needs to be recognized. And it was a chance where Oakland, despite the different commentary and stuff that things that people be saying about Oakland or even about the Bay Area, that was a local event that turned out super cool, and I think that they need to be highlighting stuff like that more, and that's showing, like I said, that we can have a good time. People not act like they got sense, and so I say that to say too, they should be, willing to open up, a little more, and because it tripped me out. Because that happened, but they also announced over the weekend the La Onda, I think, concert or festival that normally takes place in Napa, that they're canceling it. And it was, they had I guess 30,000 that they was 20 to 30,000 that were expected to come out. You know what I mean? Sold out festival. You know, but they shutting it down, and so it's like you wondering why. Like, what's the reason? You know, let people enjoy themselves. They ain't got, you know, it ain't much going. I mean, you know, it ain't much to do other than celebrate life. Because other than that, the way these laws is going and this economy is going, it's getting rough out here. So you might want to let people go ahead and enjoy themselves, especially if they ain't hurting nobody. You know. But yeah, Black Joy Parade, like I said, it was dope. I seen a lot of artists and you know, a lot of other people. You know how you run into people when you maneuvering through traffic. You know what I'm saying? So that was a good thing too. You know, because then you start, you know, you run into people that you ain't seen in a minute. But then you know, or then you run into people even for the first time. It's like, okay, well that's them, and you know. They doing their thing, but everybody was looking good. Everybody was smiling. There wasn't nobody walking around, you know, with their mug on. And yeah, I mean, it was, for me too, with not only, you know, being somebody who's been in the industry at different levels too, but, and, you know, and also being, you know, from out here, it was just a trip to me because, like I said, running into different people, depending on how they know you or where they know you from. And then, you know, seeing other people and, you know, I grew up listening to them. I grew up, you know what I mean? So, of course, you still have your fan moments and different things, or even you seeing people do other stuff now, other business ventures, and it's still, you know, just having that respect for, you know, what they do. You know what I mean? And it was like I said, overall, everything was, you know, good experience. But, yeah, and then it was a couple Lunar New Year events that were going on that took place. So overall, I think my weekend, like I said, was pretty good, and hopefully everybody else's was too. What else didn't happen in the past week? I mean, we didn't discuss Jesse Jackson, did we? You know, well, y'all, I'm pretty sure I've seen it and heard it. You know, Jesse Jackson had passed away the other week. They're currently getting his everything arranged for his memorial services and stuff. I didn't see what all the itinerary was because they were announcing some of it earlier. They was discussing it, but I've seen a lot of people. And again, it's a trip because it's Black History Month. But I've seen a lot of different people's opinions about, you know, who Jesse Jackson was and what he stood for. I mean, there's some truth in what people are saying. But again, overall, I don't know. Me personally, you know, he was, I guess there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, you know, if he was that, he was that. Whatever that is, that's all. You know what I mean? He definitely, you know, was a black man. He definitely, you know, stood for, stood for our, you know, for us to have equal rights and stood up for, you know, different injustices at different points in times. I'm not saying that, you know, he did it all the time, you know, but again, you know, you can't knock him for trying or knock him for what he did do. And that's what I seen a lot of people seeing it was, you know, they was doing. You know, that man he was out in the fight and in the race just like everybody else. Positions is positions. I mean, and if we not in them, we not fully gonna understand them. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just say that much. You know, like in my opinion, in regards to him, is like, hey, let's just you know, salute him and acknowledge him for what he did do. You know what I'm saying? Because he did a lot more than most people, definitely than people that's talking about him. So, you know what I mean? He where was you at? You wasn't outside, you know what I'm saying? And we done seen the pictures and you know, all the different things. And like I said, he been in that fight for a long time. He's one of the, one of the, if not the last one. Right? So, let's just, get him man his props, pay him his respects, you know what I'm saying? And, hopefully his family's straight, you know what I mean? But to act as if, and like I said, I'm going to get off of it because it was some strong opinions out there, and I was, not necessarily surprised, but the more I thought about it, unless it was something that you was directly tied to, I didn't see how people was just, putting so much energy into hearsay, quote unquote. You know what I mean? What you heard, because they was talking about how I guess it was in the files or whatever, and with the FBI and different stuff that he, might have had something to do with Dr. King. So I guess there's testimony that, or there's statements in the paperwork saying that, because he was supposedly on the balcony with him, but they were dressed differently, and according to the paperwork, they were saying that him and somebody else, they weren't wearing a shirt and tie like Dr. King and them was, and so that's how it was identified, and that's how they were identified in the paperwork, saying that the friendlies, quote unquote, you know what I mean? The friendlies wouldn't be wearing ties, and so I guess that's how they was, to be able, to pinpoint the target, and that's messed up. I could say that, say anything, that's messed up. But I also say this. Me personally, I haven't read through all that stuff, and you never know what's in there is what they want you to believe anyway. You get what I'm saying? So, and the term how they was saying with friendlies, it could have meant a few different things. I mean, cause he was, in the politics and different stuff back then. He, everybody had an angle. Everybody was going about, their fight and their movement a little different. He did his a little different than Dr. King, just like, Malcolm X went on his mission separately, and, they all had, different methods and different viewpoints to an extent. They had similar ones, but they had different ones. So, and they come from different places. And that's all I'm saying is that, people's realities is different now. In regards to that, if he was a part of that in any way, that's one conversation. But, overall, I mean, the man, didn't he try to run for president like twice? Say that again? 84 and 89. Way before Obama. I remember because they was, people was talking about that too, like how he was, talking about Obama when Obama got elected and all of that. But then too, I remember, when he was sitting there crying on camera, when all of that was going on, because he, again, he was going for that spot. He thought he did everything, and that's from a whole different time period. You get what I'm saying? But again, even with that, he's still one of us. So, like I said, before people get to jumping to conclusions, and you know how people are nowadays with their opinions, I just, like I said, we'll leave it at that. Rest in peace to that man, and thank you for what you did do. It was a couple other people that passed too in the last week. Some athletes. One of them was a young dude. He was like 25, a football player. You know, people just got to make sure that they take care of themselves. You know, there's a couple kids actually of actors and actresses too that passed recently in the last week. I don't know, man. Rest in peace to everybody who done passed away. But take care of yourselves. You know, that's all I want to say. Because a couple of them, you know, was, you know, it was suicides and some other stuff. To where it's like, okay, wait a minute. You know, like what's really going on, or what is it that you unhappy about? You know, because I know one of them is a rapper, and I believe he is out of, I want to say he was out of Tennessee. But he is one of the youngest ones to pass over the week, and it was ruled that it was a suicide. And it's like, man, you know, to be that young, I think it was Lil Papa, I think. Yeah, but it's like, you know, to be that young and you having money and or you know you living better than most, and you know, I understand again everybody got stuff that's going on, but what's, you know, it's, and not saying that he ain't reach out for help, but you know, for those that might be able to you know, to assist, it's like, what is it that, you know, sometimes you gotta really speak up, like what is it you know, that's really bothering you, or what is it that you want to change? What is it, you know, are you, if you're feeling like, you know, you're starting to feel meaningless, what's going to give you purpose again? You know what I'm saying? And, you know, shit, it shouldn't be nothing stopping you from being able to express that, especially the people that surround you if they supposedly support you. You know what I mean? So I just say that because, again, you never know what kind of things that people are battling with, but, you know, it could be sometimes, you know, just a pivot, you know what I mean, just a change in direction that, you know, could make them avoid that path, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, hey, even with all the rapping and different stuff, you know, and the street stuff is cool, but, you know, again, people get tired of that after a certain point, or, you know, hey, try to, you know, focus on other things, you know what I'm saying, to help the community, or, you know, to give back in whatever way that is that you see fit, you know, or venture off into other, you know, business endeavors and different things, or even just educational stuff, you know, hey, you might want to go learn something, you might want to go try something different than what you know, been accustomed to, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so I think, you know, I know it's hard because, you know, making transitions and making changes, especially, you know, nowadays is kind of hard, but it's not. You know, you just gotta have people around you that really have an understanding, that really care about you enough, and to support you in whatever it is you choose to do, especially if it's better than what you're doing right now. That's all I'm saying. So, you know, again, shout out to all of those families, and, you know, my condolences, and but yeah, especially with the younger ones, like I said, the athletes, as well as the, you know, any young people, period. You know what I mean? And not saying like that, but the young ones don't know nothing yet. You know what I mean? Dude's half my age. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere around there, like, he ain't, you know, and again, he living a little better than most with a little bit of money, but, you know, it's still a whole bunch that he didn't get to experience. And, you know, that's unfortunate. It shouldn't be that way, you know. But yeah, it was an interesting month, an interesting weekend, and a lot of stuff excuse me, a lot of stuff going on that makes you think. You know, that being some of it. Then you had other stuff that was going on. You know, the governor, Mr. Newsom. You know, I don't know. See, you say scandalous, they can't hear you. But I was gonna ask you what was your thoughts, or if you saw everything that went on with him, with the comment that he made. And so, for those that are watching or listening, if you're not aware, but most of you are by now because it's been all over social media and stuff. So, the governor, Gavin Newsom, recently was doing a speaking event, if I'm saying it correctly. But during the event, or during the interview portion or whatever portion of it, when he was talking, and I guess it was I gotta double check. I wanted to say it was with a bunch of black students present. But he made a comment, and the comment that he made was, hey, well, I'm just like you. I only got was it a 960 SAT, and saying that he can't read, and different things, and basically, he tried to crack another joke saying that maybe he's in the wrong line of work because he's not good at public speaking or reading. But then, so he, joking or not, I don't necessarily think that was not saying that he meant anything by it, but with him attending certain places, I think that, you kind of got to be mindful of how you saying certain things. And to make it even worse, there was another clip that resurfaced where he was actually being interviewed with white people. And on there, his statement was totally different. You know what I mean? And they was sitting there like with the back and forth, they was having their little chats, but about the benefits, I guess, of going to certain schools, or I believe it was something like that. But it was like, okay, how you over here 1 minute? Like Biden, for example. Y'all remember Biden? Hey, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what? Like, number one, that's, that's kind of you joking, but it's an insult at the same time. That's not really cool. And so, I don't think, regardless, because even if he was in I guess if it was more of a diverse situation, which again is, I guess it would be harmless then if he was kind of addressing everybody. But to go and, like I said, if you were at an event, or like a HBCU, for example, or you addressing the Black Student Union or anything to that capacity, you know what I'm saying? If it was a black organization, whatever, and this is how you, hey, well, I was just like you, or you know what I'm saying, and making references like that. I don't think that's appropriate. Period. I don't think that's appropriate. And I get it. Some people are, hey, there's people being sensitive about it, but at the same time, no, because if it was anybody else, they jump up and do the same thing. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Igor? Because,
I seen that clip, and I kind of think that the media was reaching. I think they was reaching because I seen the crowd, and the crowd was majority white people. So if he was talking about low credit scores and just like you, he was looking at people that looked like him.
No, low SAT.
Yeah, he was looking at people that looked like him. That crowd was sprinkled, had a few, maybe 2 black people, but it was a majority of a white crowd that he was talking to when he said that. But nevertheless, you are right about the part about, some things and some references that you use are not appropriate, because in the statement you can hear how you try to include yourself into an area that you're not in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I can see how, like that, the statement not only wasn't appropriate, but I could see where people would assume that he was talking to black people. Because the way he said it, it did sound like he was talking to a poor black crowd. But he was really talking to a white crowd.
Right.
And honestly, we know it's a lot of them poor too.
Right. Well, I mean, and like you said, that's one part of it is because of how the media is nowadays. And, like you just said, when stuff get clipped up or, it gets released a certain way and they,
the media is a cold animal.
But again, he knows that. That's my whole thing. He's somebody you've been in politics for a while.
Yeah.
You've been in the spotlight for a while. You've been around for the transition. You understand what I'm saying? Because compared to everybody else, he's younger. You know what I mean? So, you went from being a mayor, in the city and that's the whole thing. Is like he's from here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, you would think that you know better. You would think that you know better, and there's talks of him, possibly running for president and things like that. So it's
now see
that's
the part why I call him Scam Newsom. Is because I remember when he first became governor, he said strongly and almost even swore that he was not running for president. He did not want to be president. He would not put his hat in for the race.
Right.
He's not there for that.
And even recently, in other recent interviews, his response was, hey, he didn't have no answer for that. He's focusing on the position that he's in right now as governor, which that's the right thing to say. But if that's the right thing to say, if you smart enough to know how to say that on camera or in the interview, then how is you dumb enough to say what you said the other day on camera during the interview? That's my whole thing. Like, don't get besides yourself. And I'm not, again, he is from here, he still, he still goes out and shops and different things, I guess, somewhat like a regular person, you know what I mean? To let him tell it. I remember at one time that he went on the news or, and to say about how the retail theft was getting out of hand, and because he was in a store, I'm trying to remember if it was a Target or one of them stores, but he was in a store and some people were stealing stuff. They was just walking out of the store without paying for the stuff, and he's waiting in line to pay for his stuff. And, as he's ringing his stuff up, as the stuff is being rang up, he's saying something to the cashier like, hey, why is nobody doing anything about that? Why none of the employees or security, nothing? And the cashier he was talking to started going off about, oh, well, our governor, this and that, not realizing that the governor was standing right in front of them talking. Yeah, but, so he, I guess he don't strike me as necessarily like he's in it to be famous or, you know, like you said, not necessarily even on a power trip. I don't know. But like you said, you got to be more mindful about certain things that you're saying. And again, he's younger. He's dealt with the politics and media, you know what I'm saying, since it ain't really kicked off. So he knows what to do and what not to do. He be getting on podcasts and everything. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I remember he was on he did a podcast on Lil Blood podcast, remember? Yeah, so it's like, you know, the people, he's reachable, you know. But, again, I don't think that that's something, oh, I'm just like you. Nah, you're not like me, buddy. Because if you is, then what that say about the government? They letting you run it, you know? But yeah, I said, you never know. People got to watch what they say, you know. Shout out to the Congressman, is it Al Green, though? You know what I mean? Because out of Texas, you know what I'm talking about? Did you see the...
I haven't seen that.
The State of the Union, address, whatever, when Trump addresses everybody.
The response to it? Yeah, I haven't seen that.
So, I haven't either, to be honest with you. Trump done already showed everybody he gonna do what he want to do and say what he want to say. I'm just being honest with you. And, you know, unless you just, like, unless it's for entertainment purposes, I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, I pay attention to stuff that's going on because you want to, you know, you want to have knowledge of what moves is happening next. But the rest of the time, I can't just sit and listen to him, you know. I mean, unless I'm just looking for some entertainment, because he tickles the hell out of me. You know what I mean? Because he's going to say it, and, I mean, he's definitely a person that talk to hear they self-talk. You know, and he be trying to crack jokes in his own way and shit. You know, I guess that's his way of being, trying to be, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but in regards to, like, him as a public figure and public speaking, like, you know, trying to resonate, I guess, with the audience, you know what I mean? And try to get everybody to see his vision. He just, the way that he goes about, you know, with his words is kind of, it's hilarious to me. You know what I mean? Because you got to be delusional a little bit. Or you know, to listen to what he's saying or to agree with some of what he's saying. You know what I mean? Because some of this shit be crazy. But, so yeah, I don't typically... You know, some of those things, I don't really watch them unless I'm just, like I said, getting a laugh or trying to see if he touch on certain topics. But what I did see was that everybody was talking about, like I said, the representative Al Green. And I remember him because I don't know if you remember when... the last time that Trump did an address like this, and it was, you know, when he first, you know, got elected. And if you remember, all the people were getting up and was protesting. Do you remember? And they was, before he could even start speaking, remember?
Yeah, they was already booing, yeah.
No, but I mean, not only that, but they was taking people out. I don't know if you remember. And Al Green was one of the people that they took out back then. He was one of the first people that stood up. And this is, because I'm trying to remember what they did. They had, some of the people were dressed in certain colors as part of the protest. The rest of them was, they were either holding up signs. Some people, you know, got up and spoke out, and he was one of them. He was one of them, and you know, like you said, he got arrested and escorted out, you know, back then. And so, you know, that was hella memorable. I remember watching that I seen that live, because he didn't give a damn, because they was trying to tell him that if he didn't sit down or he didn't be quiet, and he didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all gonna have to do what y'all gotta do. And he was one of the ones that I seen everybody was talking about this time around. So I guess for this one, he stood up with a paper and holding it out, saying that, you know, black people are not apes.
What the fuck?
You know, in response to, you know, I guess the comments that Trump was making in regards to Obama's and other stuff. You know what I mean? So, dude standing on business, man. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. It's a trip to me how they going about things now, or what's allowed and what's not. You know, even amongst the government, it was like, when we watching this, and you know, or for the people that's watching it, it's like, okay, these supposed to be the people that's in control of the country, and they doing like a lot of different antics and stuff now, like it's, you know, like watching wrestling. You know what I mean? It's a lot of theatrics. You know, a lot of, you know, they doing extra stuff. It's, you know, it seems like people are looking. I mean, they're looking to make statements, but another term for making statements is quote unquote viral moments. But some of it just, like I said, it just seemed petty and unnecessary. You know what I mean? I don't see any of that stuff. Don't get me wrong. I mean, what Mr. Green was standing up for, you know what I mean, and with the sign said, I totally agree 110%. Because like we were saying too, you know, you same thing like I was saying with Newsom. Anybody that's a public figure, or you're in such a position where, you know, you're making decisions for the citizens here, and you're supposed to be a representative of us too. Like, don't nobody want to be represented by somebody with, you know, narrow-minded thinking, you know? So I think, and of course everybody is who they is and they're entitled to their opinions, but once you accept certain positions, I think that you're responsible for, you know, what comes out your mouth. So, you know, you should be mindful of that, you know, and like I said with Trump, you know, he letting it be known that he don't give a damn in so many words, you know what I'm saying, or he, you know, he trying to see how far he gonna push it to the limit, you know what I'm saying, because you don't really recall any other president doing that like that, you know, so yeah, like I said, it's what I expect from him, but he knows better too. You know, that's all I'm gonna say about that. I see it's still supposed to be some wars going on. Now we gotta worry about Iran. They're currently in negotiations right now, but according to both sides, if they can't come to no agreement that it's on, they supposed to be working on some nuclear stuff out there. And it just, again, the whole time I'm sitting there, because, you know, just like you guys, I'm, you know, getting my information from the news and other places. But I find it just odd, like, well, if that's the case, how is it that y'all able to even obtain that information? You know what I mean? Like, these countries, quote unquote, 1 minute they cool, the next minute they at war, but the whole time the media, the media outlets in both countries, you know, like it's still cool. Like for some, you know, is media, you know, the personnel from here, they're still able to go out there, or, you know, they, you know, is it like a rule to say, you know, hey, they get a pass, and you know what I'm saying, in the midst of all what's going on? Cause yeah, y'all the way some of this information is sharing around, you think, like I said, it looked like everybody, you know, still in bed with each other. So, I mean, again, that's what I said, theatrics. Like, what is it really about? You know? Shit. What happened with the cartel and stuff in Mexico, even out there, how that, you know, and people were saying that, you know, supposedly that the U.S. did have some type of involvement in what went on down there with them, you know, capturing that cartel leader. And, you know, even that, to where it's like, okay, it was the U.S. citizens who happened to be in Mexico over the weekend, you know, over the past week, you know, was on alert and different stuff. And it was wild out there. I seen footage of somebody inside they were inside a grocery store, and it was like, you know, other people was in there too, and I guess somebody threw a grenade. You know what I mean? Threw a grenade in the store while people was in there shopping. And so, you know, to see that, you know, and it was all there from their cell phone camera, you know what I mean? So it was all phone camera footage, but yeah, to see that, like, they, you know, to be in there live, and I could just imagine, like, I wouldn't want to live and nothing like that. And, you know, especially knowing that it's other places like out here, or, you know, other parts of the world, like I said, where they just, you know, they just showing it on TV like it's a show. That's what I'm saying, the theatrics. And, you know, these is, you know, when they say war games or different things, like, this is definitely a big game. And, you know, I don't like being a part of games that I'm not, you know, necessarily playing, or I'm not in control of. You know, this shouldn't, you know, none of this should be at our expense like that, you know. And that's why I was saying, like, what's the real play here? Because even in Iran, they were sitting there talking about how, yeah, you know, right now negotiations are supposed to take place, but then at the same time, they're talking about how over there, their economy is already seeing a shift, because I guess, you know, if they're preparing, their government there is, you know, trying to prepare for war or whatever, or, you know, prices that went up on certain things, and, you know, stuff is in limited supply. But I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, so who from out there is reporting this to y'all here in the United States? Or who's allowing y'all to come in there and get all that information if it's about to be a war? So that's, you know, like I said, like, what is it really about? And when is it going, you know, when is it going to change? When is it going to change? Because that's why I was tripping. I'm like, well, they, you know, shit, we got issues going on right here in the United States. You know, shit, quiet as it's kept, I don't feel that we in a position to be going to war with nobody. You know, and if you know, unless, like I said, they gonna come out and tell the truth, which some people know, but, you know, whether or not the money's real, or is it just, you know, a system, like you said, that they've been trying to, you know, keep us in, and you know, it's time for a change, basically. So, I don't know. All you can do is, you know, take care of your business, take care of your health, and you know, take care of what's important, and, you know, hope for the best, because, like I said, it ain't no telling. It ain't no telling. I've been surprised. Like I said, I do watch the news sometimes in the morning, but other times I haven't, because it just seemed like every time you turn it on, you know, there's different stuff going on. Like I said, we have war over here. This is going over here. There's no money for this, but then there's money being put over here. You know, all of that, and it's just, to me, it's confusing. It's a big circus. You know, shit. For example, remember, I think, was it last week? Yeah, it was last week when we talked about, because, you know, 2 weeks ago, the San Francisco school district, the teachers out there went on strike. They went on strike for a week. Then they was finally able to come to a settlement. I believe it was around the sum of $183 million, something like that, right? Then there's a flip side to that. So the flip side to that is they came to those terms and ended the strike, but as a result of that, a bunch of teachers or a bunch of different staff are being released. You know, they're being fired, basically, laid off. I don't know if that's a win or not. You know, it's because, okay, people are trying to, you know, they arguing saying they want equal pay and this and that, but the only way they was able to do that is by eliminating jobs. So I know like janitors, teachers, aides, you know, different people now are out of a job. You know, I don't necessarily think that that's right, but that's what they doing in the city since, you know, since they went on that strike and ended it. I know even up there in Sacramento they was talking about a strike taking place, but how about Oakland is supposed to be next to go on strike? I think that they're voting on it today. And it's the same, you know, same thing as with the other places, which I find interesting because, again, these are all places that they were saying that they don't have no money. You know, so if they ain't got no money, then if you ain't got no money, you ain't got no money. But it's funny how you got money for certain stuff, but not money for the other stuff. You know? I don't see how, if the argument is that people are understaffed, that the workload is excessive, I don't see how, you know, firing people made a difference, especially because, you know, some of those jobs are important too. You not just teachers' aides, but, you know, counselors, or like I said, shit, even the janitor. You gotta realize how many people are at a school facility. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work, and ain't nobody else. If y'all get rid of the janitors, who gonna keep the schools clean? I don't think y'all really thought that out. Who's gonna do that job? You know, the teachers' aides, and like I said, different things. You know, they're teachers too. For what it's worth, you know, they're in that field or they're on their way. How, you know, however you want to say it, or other types of you know, other types of teachers. Like I said, counselors. I think that their jobs are just as important. You know, when you start looking at the ratio of students to kids, students to teachers, you feel me? Or kids to teachers, I think that they're needed. They've always been needed. That's why the jobs were available in the first place. But, you know, what's going to happen next? And this is, back and forth with these schools. They just had to, like, even same thing here in Oakland, just like in the city. They had already announced previously that a bunch of these schools are about to get closed down and combined. You know, they've been doing it over the last few years, but that is going to continue. So, I don't know. I think they just need to be upfront about whether or not it's money and about, you know, what's the next step going to be. I remember you saying something about that, Igor, like, it don't seem like they trying to shut down the education department, you know. And if that's the case, let people know. You know what I'm saying? Homeschool it's not unheard of. It's not unusual, but something's gonna have to happen. And at that point, what is that gonna mean for our society? Now, I'm just saying, no, I'm being serious. Now, which way are we finna do this? Because, the technology and everything else, that's all fine and dandy. But, yeah, what's the next step in regards to education? Is everybody just going to be doing, people did have to do it for, a certain amount of time during the pandemic as far as, online schooling, but through Zoom and other things. But is that the direction that we headed in? And what is that gonna do? I mean, or what do you think effects that'll have on society? Do you think that that's what they're trying to do? Make it to where we all, doing school, like I said, everybody is homeschooled or digital school?
Yeah, I definitely think that's where it's going. Teachers are going to be obsolete, sad to say. Just like the toll workers on the bridge. We thought that was forever. But yeah, the teachers, I think that's going to be AI. Right now, they're teaching AI all the school curriculums. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, it had to be somebody watch the little kids. But
that's gonna be AI.
Nah. I mean, there got to be some assistance with development, I think. Now, I think once they reach a certain age, and again, you're right, I mean, because of technology, like everybody putting these devices in front of kids, younger and younger, but yeah, I still think that there needs to be some human involvement in the development, at least until they double digits. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I mean, if you pass once you're out of elementary school, I could see what you're saying. But yeah, elementary school, preschool, elementary school, I think that there needs to be, like I said, some human supervision, human involvement. I say that much. But what is that going to do for the economy? What are the people? What about all these teachers? And that's what I'm trying to say. Like when you saying that, even going up to, college, college level, like that's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of jobs. Like what's the purpose? I mean, even that, for example, okay, because if the schools shut down, then there's no reason for these kids to be on these campuses, and that's the big money pit.
See, to me, the whole question is this: who's controlling AI? They would have the most interest in situations like this. Who's actually the head of AI? Who's saying yeah and no, and this is the direction we're going with AI? Who's that control?
Well, you got a point. I mean, just like the same person or the same people, excuse me, the same people that are behind the robotics companies and everything else. Because, like you said, they stand to gain a lot,
right,
at the expense of, But that's what I'm saying. What does that mean? Like, okay, if all these different industries, there's no such thing as job security anymore, because everything, can be done, by a robot or a computer program. What's supposed to happen? What are people supposed to do?
Who's in control of building the robots? Who's in control of the materials being built? Who's saying which materials that you should build with these robots? Because I have a clip of AI robots, and they are doing a Korean martial arts dance with swords with kids.
Yeah, we showed that last week.
Yeah.
But then I've seen some other ones too, but I don't, like you just said, what is they? Some of those things right now are currently being programmed, like you said, by humans. They actually have, you know, people that are being hooked up to monitors and everything, and that's how they're able to, you know, to get them to move as freely and stuff as we do. And like you said, it's just all part of programming. But you're absolutely right. It's like, okay, well, once that all of that happens, then what? In regards to any type of job.
Right.
Because once you do that, then it's like, okay, anything physical, and I mean, in regards to building and stuff like that, for example, I could see how it would be a positive thing, you know, like repairing buildings, things of that nature, you know, it's less of a risk, you know, when it's a robot doing it versus a human, for, you know, anything dangerous to happen. You know, any firefighters, you know what I'm saying, going in, putting out fires.
Now I can see that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what about everything else?
Yes.
You know, like you said too, even the jobs like heavy lifting, warehouse work, different things. Of course, you know, it'd be a lot more productive if it was all robots, and it'd be less, you know, strenuous on us health-wise. But then what does that do?
And who's controlling that?
Right. But what does it do? Like, what are the people who had all those jobs supposed to go do? And if that's the case, then why are we still paying rent?
Exactly.
You know, because that's why I was tripping, like, when Trump was saying before how, you know, he was making certain statements saying that, oh, we'll be able to do this and that, or, you know, he was going to be able to give the citizens, he was going to be able to give us money back from all these tariffs and stuff. You understand what I'm saying? Like you said, I'm looking at it like that. It's like, okay, well, if all of these jobs, just like at the like fast food spots and all these different spots now where it's kiosk machines, you know, and like you said, we know that those have already replaced some jobs where you know, you don't even, they still got people in there, but typically if you walk inside of McDonald's, you got to walk up to that screen and order your food, you know. And so it's like, and they got people back there, of course, working, but we also know that there's restaurants already up and running where they actually have robots back there making the food. So that's only a matter of time. But I'm saying that just, you know, to where it's on a happening everywhere. But my thing is okay, so what are the people that had those jobs, what are they supposed to do now? You know, what are you supposed to do if you worked in fast food and now it's robots that took over the job, so now they don't need y'all no more? What are y'all supposed to do? If you work in a warehouse, but now they got robots in that industry too now, to where a lot of, I mean, we see all these companies is doing big layoffs. Like you said, why we think they're doing big layoffs? You know, they're using the AI agents and everything else to where, like you said, even, you know, office jobs, different stuff. All these workers getting laid off from all these big tech companies is because now they're being replaced, like you said, by, you know, AI agent or by some robots. To where it's like, okay, well, damn. So what are they supposed to do for work? How are they supposed to survive? Or are they just not? I don't see what the end goal is with any of that. You know, and that's why I'm saying we definitely gotta, you know, take care of ourselves and pay attention to what's happening. Because, like you said, yeah, the people that gain the most is whoever is controlling them. But what does that mean for the rest of us? Because even for the people right now that are in school, what's the point of them going to school? You know, And what's supposed to happen with all of those different facilities? I mean, like, okay, Igor, right now, did you see in the city, what was that college that was just out there that's being taken over by Vander? Is it being? It was. Is the California University of? God damn it. Is a college that's over there in the city that they just announced is supposed to be closing down at the end of this semester, and is being replaced by a college from the East Coast. It's more of a private school. I don't want to say, I think it started with a V. I don't want to say it wrong. But again, I'm looking at it like, okay, if that's the case and they're doing all of that, and like how you were saying with AI taking over jobs or even like that, because I know you can take tests and stuff, and like I said, all these colleges, and you can go to class, online classes for everything now, but you don't know if you're dealing with an actual person or not. But my thing is what are they gonna do with all these facilities then? Like all these empty schools, even the elementary schools and high schools that's been shut down. You know, what are they gonna do with them? I don't see how empty buildings is helping when we dealing with, you know, all this homelessness and everything else. It's just, you know, make it make sense. And there's gonna be more homeless people if you're taking their jobs. Or is it, you know, and if it ain't gonna be here, I mean, people gonna try to migrate somewhere else. It's gonna be a problem somewhere eventually. You know, just like with the homeless situation that is going on here in the Bay Area. I know that in Oakland they were talking about how they actually have kind of taken a step back from moving homeless encampments like they were before, because, you know, some of the results of them doing that is putting people in danger. You know what I mean? Because now they're trying to relocate their, you know, they tents or wherever they living out of. They trying to, you know, move the encampment from one place to another place that's potentially more dangerous, you know, or that could be. I'm seeing a lot of people I'm seeing a lot of campsites like on the sides of freeways and, you know, freeway entrances and exits and stuff like that, which that can be just dangerous anyway, because that's not typically an area where it's supposed to be somebody standing or walking, you know, at any hour of the day or night. So, you know, it's still an issue regardless that these people is on the street, but, you know, and they saying, hey, you know, they don't want them, they're not necessarily trying to run them off, but they got to do something. You got to figure out somewhere to put them. And like I said, I don't understand what all these abandoned, you know, real estate, you know what I'm saying, that's going on around all these buildings, schools and everything else, why we can't set up, you know, something somewhere. So I'm trying to see, but they saying that the, you know, shit gonna get worse before it get better. You know, we looking at the BART as well as these other transit companies. You know, I guess they just got bailed out with about $500 or $600 million to try to help, because at the end of this year, I believe, or is it July or November? Well, I believe that there's supposed to be a measure that we have to vote on in regards to BART. And if it don't go their way, because I guess they need to raise like $1 billion or whatever, that they're going to have to shut BART down. But y'all was just in the middle of building, and y'all still are, quote unquote, building new BART stations. So how y'all got money for building the new BART stations and, you know, extending, because they was, you know, extending it all the way to San Jose and other places. But how do y'all even have this money or to even to start developing without taking care of the other stuff that's more important? For example, again, just today, you know, once again, the BART was shut down in between the Trans-Bay Terminal, you know, the tube. There's been a lot of different issues going on with the BART trains. You know, it's something going on every other week. And a lot of it has to do with that whole system being ran off of old software. So I'm confused. I'm confused on how you overcharging y'all. I mean, they did put some new gates in to, you know, but that ain't doing nothing, y'all. And, you know, they raised the price on trips, on how much it costs to get on BART. You know, but the whole BART system ain't but 55 years old at the most. It's not even that. It's about 53, I think, years old, because they just did the anniversary. So it's, you know, it's still a relatively new system. They should have been making upgrades along the way, but the prices, from what I remember to up till now, the prices have always been going up. So I don't understand where that money was going. But again, you know, we're living in a different time now, and a lot of different things are coming to light about people that were in certain positions and what they was doing with money. You know, I know there's a lady. They just trying to remember what her last name was. There's a lady that was the head of a nonprofit over in the city. Did you hear about that, Igor? She got away with they saying over I think it's 1.2 million, something like that. Yeah, it's like, what was you doing with the, you know, with the funds? And it's stuff like that. It's like, how are these people? How is it these different people that were in these positions, you know, able to do that for that period of time, get away with it, you know, and we have to, you know, necessarily suffer for that, especially, like I said, if they're supposed to be government, you know, if it's government funded. If it's government funded, y'all should be able to get that money back from them. Especially, you know, they ain't spent it. I don't know. But like I said, with, the BART, the transportation, I'm just, you know, between that, the, you know, education department, just different things. It's like all the industries is just, you know, it's a lot of changes going on. I'm wondering what's going to happen, though, like you were saying, if they was to, because, again, the education is so much it's so many different intricate parts and different levels of education. Like, if they were to eliminate, like, college first or something like you said, where, okay, you're doing, you know, it's basically online classes. Now, some stuff you can't do that for, in my opinion. Like the medical field, I think that those people still need to actually, you know, do their training in person and stuff like that. I know a lot of it is still done through videos and stuff, but they do hands-on training as well and learning. So I'm looking at it the same way as like, okay, y'all can't just shut down all the schools, but for everything in between, if they were, what's that going to look like? What's that going to look like? Because like you said, if everybody, and they don't need, to, quiet as it's kept, whether it's programming or repairing, do you really think they're going to need that many humans to repair robots? No, because they could teach the robot to repair the robot. So I'm just, what are people supposed to do? Or like I said, is they're gonna restructure this whole thing to where, because I mean, you gotta live somewhere, but if there's no jobs available, how are you gonna be able to afford where you live unless they just eliminate rent? I don't know. Something to think about though. But I'm not gonna waste too much more time thinking about it right now, cause it is Thursday, y'all. The week is more than halfway over. The month, like I said, is over with. So hopefully, March kick off a little better. I'm pretty sure people gonna start feeling good once they start getting them tax returns. It's also the season is we not in spring yet, but we getting a little bit closer. So it's always events and stuff going on, but March, and that's to the earliest is March, but typically to me March and April seems like that's when the weather sometimes, and I know we're dealing with climate change right now, but the weather starts to change for the better. You start seeing all of the different advertisements. As I've seen stuff for like all different types of festivals. All different types of festivals, car shows. That's when you know what I mean. That's when you really know that the weather is finna be nice, because all the car clubs start coming out of nowhere, and it's I've seen a million different car shows that's gonna be coming up over the next few months all throughout, Cali and some other places too. But it's like, okay, yeah, let's get back to that, because this weather has been something else. The last few weeks, I know out to Tahoe, it was, people were snowed in and stuff back out there. They wasn't letting nobody get in or out of that thing. Roads was all the way shut down. I know a couple people lost their life up there, actually too, due to some, snowstorms and different things. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the cold. It's cool, it's nice to look at, but I don't see it. Like I was just looking cause on social media, and it was a news channel, somebody from the East Coast, but they were talking about how, the way that the snowstorms have been hitting out there, where it's 3 feet of snow, or more, to where they was actually, like in New York, I guess, snow, shoveling snow is a big thing, especially when you figure, hey, if it don't get moved, then the roads is closed or everything is shut down. Everybody snowed in at that point, and because if it starts snowing like that and nobody tends to it, until the weather changes and it all melts away, you're gonna be stuck where you at. But they was offering like $40 an hour or something like that for people to go. For people to go shovel snow. But then you gotta think about that too. I've worked in, in them conditions. So yeah, when it's, 20 degrees, 10 degrees, and 0 degrees, shit like that, and you talking about being outside shoveling snow, that's not it. That's, so, I mean, I shout out to everybody that's doing it and that has to do it, but yeah, I don't, so with that being said, yeah, I wasn't, I understand people going to Tahoe, different things, skiing and all that, it's nice, but yeah, that's not, it's a little too cold for me, so yeah, like I said, I'm excited that the weather is changing, that I'm getting a signal at least that it is going to change, at some point. Like even today, it was a little foggy this morning, but then, by the afternoon, it's hot. Blue skies is, we up here that, we keep it at about a 60 or 70. you know, compared to some of those other places that's warm, you know, so I'm looking forward to it. If there's any events that you guys got coming up, you know, and you want us to come out, please go ahead and leave a comment or hit us up on one of the many outlets, you know, and we'll definitely come check y'all out. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about all types of events. You'd be surprised, y'all. I'll be everywhere. So, you know, if it's a book signing, a meet and greet, if it's a community wellness event, you know, and that's why I was saying too, it's a lot of those that I see are being organized right now and promoted that are going to be coming up, you know, health and wellness fairs and different things. And we're going to be giving you guys all the 411 on them the more that we find out about them. But yeah, I don't know. When you think of, and I'm talking to y'all, I know y'all like, what was he talking to? I'm talking to everybody. But when you think of, you know, I guess spring, right? Which, well, technically spring don't start till when? April? It's typically April. So we're still in winter. Okay. Well, when you think of winter, what do you think of versus when you think of spring? What do you think of? You know, because like for me, like I said, winter, I think snow, I think cold. You know, I think, you know, rain. Spring, I guess, yes, it does. You know, it tends to rain during the spring. But again, like I said, to me, that's just like, hey, it's pre-summer. Everything is heated up, and that's when, you know, it's time to be outside. That's when everybody back outside, you know. What do you prefer? What's your preference and why? That's what I'm asking. So if y'all watching or listening, definitely leave a comment, send me a message. I want to know. What about you, Igor? What do you think? What's your favorite time?
Summertime.
Of course. But
You
between...
feel me? I'm a June baby. Summertime.
Yeah, I ain't even think about it that way, cause, yeah. Well, I did, to be honest with you. That's something I've been battling with all my life, cause it rains typically on my birthday. You know what I mean? So yeah, I guess it's during quote unquote winter, but yeah, it rains or it snows depending on where you at during my birthday. So
right.
Yeah, it's not as active. There's more people out.
Yeah, you know, when I was younger,
in the summertime,
I used to like when it got dark early, cause I wanted to play outside in the dark or whatever. But now that I'm older, I like the longer days.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. I never liked the days when it would rain and stuff because nobody outside.
Right.
Nobody. I don't want. You know. I mean. And don't get me wrong, again, like what we was just talking about, the snow and everything, you know, shout out to those that, you know, hey, that's your environment, that's what you grew up in. I've moved to some of those places before, and I've lived places where it snows and rains a lot. And, yeah, more power to y'all, because it did drive me crazy a little bit when I was out there. But, yeah, I couldn't, you know. And you got to really know how to entertain yourself. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You got to really find some stuff that you like to do. You really got to prepare and plan ahead, you know, like, just like how they say, you know, how like animals and stuff that go hibernate in the winter. It's like, yeah, if you live in any of those places where it get cold, like you said, you know, the snow and the rain, then you really got to be prepared for it. And I got the clothes for it, but like you said, it's not the same. You know, I don't think that anything beats, because, you know, I mean, as our bodies naturally, like I said too, you know, as far as needing vitamin D, you know, from the sunlight, different things. So yeah, it's a different experience, you know, when you're outside on a nice day. That's why we all do it. So yeah, I'm with you. Definitely summer, or like I said, spring winner for me. But yeah, like you said too, that the days, I don't know. I'm either way. As far as like you said, the lights. I mean, not the lights. Excuse me, but like daylight saving time, or like you said, or longer days versus shorter days. That don't necessarily matter to me, but the weather I think is really gonna make a difference because ain't nobody gonna be outside if it's too cold. So, cause I see, like you said, shit in the summertime, it can be 90-something degrees at night, people outside, cause it's too hot to go to sleep. So, yeah.
And I honestly think that daytime and nighttime do something to our clock inside of us. Because when it get dark, I'll be ready to hibernate. I
Right.
don't know. It'd be, you know what I mean? I'll be ready to just, call it.
Yeah. Well, that all depends too, like you said, on what's going on. But either way it go, because I noticed that too, running around like last week, and I can't. Some stuff I can't do like I used to, or even over the weekend shit. Black Joy Parade, like I told you, I said I was out there from, I got there at 10, but don't get me wrong, y'all. I was up at like, 6, 7 in the morning. I normally wake up on average at around 5 or 6 in the morning. You know what I mean? Sometimes. And so, for me, by the time I done ran around and did stuff all day, like even right now, it's almost about to be 4. I'm getting close to where I've been running around already 12 hours. Like you said, by the time it hits 7 or 8 o'clock, if I sit down too long, I'm going to sleep. Yeah, I'm cooked, and then other times, if I know that I'm going to be doing something, I do have to take a little nap sometime or get some different sleep. So, but I'm trying to work on different things right now as far as different eating habits, and I don't know if y'all can see over here, but I put on a few pounds. So I'm serious. I've been looking at that too. Like, is that what's making me sleepy? Is it, is it just getting old? Is it like you said, I'm sitting down and I'm eating more and, but I'm trying to get it right because like you said, it's definitely, the weather is going to be changing soon and I'm trying to be ready for it, so I'm be outside belly or not. You understand what I'm saying? So definitely let us know about any events that you got coming up, and how we can help. I'd love to be a part of it. Got a lot of background history over here. Y'all might need some staffing, some hosting. You might need a DJ. It's a lot of different things, that we might be able to help y'all with. So by all means, if you got something going on, hit us up. We'll be more than happy to come out and show y'all how Bay Life Radio do things. Yeah, man, I'm trying to think. It was some other stuff that I seen, but I didn't want to really talk about it until I went and did a little bit more research, because some of it was just like ridiculous to me. Some of it was ridiculous. I know that they was saying, I think it was the councilman that was in San Leandro that just, he retired or whatever, or resigned, because they was investigating him, and something going on with a lot of politics, a lot of different stuff going on with some local, politicians and stuff, and like I said, trying to make sense of it all. Some of these layoffs that they're talking about, I'm kind of confused about. So I really need to understand like what's supposed to happen next for people, or what people are supposed to do out here. And then of course I seen there's a few places that they're gonna be opening up, as well as places that's gonna be getting shut down. So I said, I'm gonna get back to y'all on that one probably next week. Hopefully though, some of the stuff turn around. I mean, I know that. Damn it, what was the name of that? It was one restaurant that's, a bar, excuse me, another one that was supposed to be closing. It was a pretty popular one, but then it was one that was, I guess that's reopening too, whereas, some new people behind it with the money. But I'm wondering if that's, like I said, if that's something that we gonna be able to look forward to out here in the Bay Area, as long as with they're making some of these changes, or business is business, but it's like, are y'all gonna try to keep up, or try to hold on to some of our, local hot spots, you know what I mean? Some of the places with some history behind it, or is they just gonna be tearing it down, and coming on new? Because I've been noticing, like, it was a few restaurants, a few spots that I seen too, even being in downtown Oakland, where it was like they wasn't even there long. So it's like they moved in, or they didn't see the vision. And like Vegan Mob, that's one. Vegan Mob, was out here in Oakland. Then they branched out. They closed the actual location here in Oakland, but they still had a food truck. But they also opened a restaurant in Vallejo, which they just closed over the weekend. And I believe they have another location in the South Bay. And that was something that, like I said, originated here in Oakland, actually, and in the city, because that's where the owner is from. But it's like, what is I know some of the backstory to it was that, like with the Oakland location, when it was time to renew the lease, like, that supposedly that, they raised the money, they raised the price, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, why would you want to do that to a quote unquote staple in the community? You know what I'm saying? A landmark, is especially, and I'm not saying that just because it's black owned, but I'm saying it's locally owned, so it's like, why are you, and I say you, I'm referring to the government and those, like you said, that can't do nobody's rent control, or that, when it comes to real estate control, it's like, why are you guys, you pushing everybody out, or you making it to where they, businesses are struggling, or businesses are having to forced to shut down, or to try to move elsewhere, and I don't see it. Like, again, what's the purpose, or what do you guys plan on doing? Because this is it's prime real estate. This is this whole region is a coastal region. We know that there's a lot of money that's been coming through here, and that still comes through here. So I don't understand why any parts of it would be, going under. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, we'll see. Hopefully they'll unveil some more to us. But I don't know, man. Let's pray for these teachers, man. That because Oakland is going through a lot. All of these cities is going through a lot, but with the school and everything, and what we was already seeing, what was going on with crime-wise and different things, and we finally getting some of that to calm down. People starting to wisen up, act like they got some sense. But if we don't get some of this under control, it's gonna be right back to chaos. So hopefully they make the right decision. Hopefully that these teachers don't have to go on strike, and I don't know, maybe our governor, I'ma just end it with this, if he's supposed to be like us, quote unquote, then hopefully he gonna stand up and really, he gonna stand up and speak up for some stuff, you know what I mean? Especially about education. I don't see why they not stepping in. Cause shit, if you just like us, or if you was bragging about how low your score was or whatever, then shit, you shouldn't want that for nobody else. So like I said, man, we gonna keep our ear to the street and keep y'all updated. If you got anything that you want to share with us, you got a business, an organization, you got an event coming up, a service that you provide, anything like that, you want us to help you tell the world about it, definitely leave a comment or send a message to myself or Igor on any one of these outlets, and we'll see what we can do for you. We do have some spaces open for special guest interviews, appearances. Tap in with me if you're interested in doing that. And, yeah, I hope y'all enjoy y'all weekend. It's going to be the first of the month this weekend. And so hopefully everybody's still feeling good. Let's end Black History Month on a good note. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to think of what I'm finna eat, to be honest with you. I need something different. I need something different. I've been eating a lot of different stuff, but I want to try, there's a restaurant, a North African sandwich place that I've seen in the city. I think I want to try. But yeah, Black History Month, you know what I'm saying? Which, we got to end it on a good note, you know what I'm saying? So y'all stay safe out there, take care of yourselves, and we'll see y'all next week. Street Level Impact.
Break dip, corner sharp like a razor. Ghost rider whip, neighbors yelling y'all crazy. E40 slang, vocabulary gravy. Hustle so strong, lead a whole block hazy. Curbside chatter, deals under street lights. Hustle on the corner like a fiend chasing green stripes. Knock steady, hitting speakers bark like a pit. Street level impact, the ground might split. Street level impact, with a baseline crack. From the trunk to the block, no way to turn back. Hands in the air, we gon' make this clap. Street level impact, yeah we built for that. Street level impact, with a baseline crack. From the trunk to the block, no way to turn back.